All right. So I actually did a whole video about Andreas Gursky, and I did the screen recording, and it turns out that you need to turn the sound on. So I've got amazing images, and I've got no sound, which is the best part. So, anyways, I am I'm gonna do a little bit of a redo, and it's hopefully gonna be a little bit shorter. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. So I texted you Andreas Gursky. He's a German photographer, and I wanted to just do a quick overview of some of his work, or like a dive into who he is, because personally I find Gursky a really important artist for the period of time that we're in currently, meaning like kind of the last 10 years, where Instagram has become a thing and Facebook, where the world is more proficient in images and image making and photography. So I'm just going to share a little bit about Gursky. Gursky is a German photographer. He comes from the Dusseldorf School. The Dusseldorf School is composed of a series of photographers that are all very great photographers. Um, they studied under this couple called Bern and Hillebecker. Bern and Hillebecker did these photos of water towers and kind of like industrial spaces. But the kind of the important thing about them is that they were collectors, so they collected these different image types, like typologies, and the way that they photographed them was very, very scientific, or at least quote unquote objective, which means that these lines go up and down and side to side, and they're parallel and perpendicular to the frame. Like, it's very kind of tries to be very kind of architectural almost, very quote unquote honest. So that being said, they brought that kind of mentality um, to their students, and so Andreas Gursky embraced this and took this to I guess more of an extreme. So some of the qualities of his work: one, he's a large format photographer, which means that he's shooting with um, this kind of camera, 8x10 camera. He's shooting with a very big camera, like this, and it's a film camera. And he shoots with a film camera because film gets you more resolution. You can actually shoot a bigger image with a film camera than with a digital. Digital technology is for tourism photos. Film is actually for art photography, at least right now. The scales are changing, but um, for now, Gursky and a lot of Dusseldorf use film. This is one of his first images. It's in Naples. As you can see here, like the details, there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of small elements in this, there's a lot of little cars. But what is at play here is, imagine this being 5 feet wide, where you can actually see the logos of these cars or the logos of these shipping containers and the city. He creates these almost compositions where you have in the back, you have like one kind of line, like a Rothko. Think about it like a Rothko, and then you have this kind of line going through, right? And then you have like this line of like cars. So you have these kind of color palettes, and he's about repetition, industrialism, um, and just the beautiful thing about Gursky's photos. Oh, I can do a bigger one. Is that, oh, and I can do others. Oh my gosh. Oh, great. Um, Beautiful thing about Gursky's photos is that he he displays the fact that there can be more than a single focal point in a photo. Like, a painting and a photo typically have like a hero, so a main point of action. But let's talk about maybe a Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock doesn't have a central figure in the painting, it's abstract, right? So you can look at every part of the canvas, and there's an element of maybe surprise, but also color and different relationships between those colors and shapes, to where you can actually spend almost infinite time understanding the different relationships that he's constructing. Gursky's trying to embrace this in his own way through photography of saying, hey, you know, why should I just take a picture of one person when I can, there he is right there, when I can take a picture of 1,000 and print it big enough so that you can kind of see all of these different narratives playing out at the same time. This is a really important photo. Oops. This is the Rhine. This is the most expensive photograph ever sold. It's not that expensive comparatively because photography is a pretty new kind of hot medium in the world of fine art. It's always been around, but as far as it being at the forefront, it's making its way to be very respectable. So as you can see here, what's at play is the base. Right off the bat, you can see the composition, right? Just like Bernd and Hillebecker, you can see those horizontal lines. Boom, 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 boom. It's basically a Rothko painting. Then you have these kind of green patches with, it's almost a two-tone painting. You have this gray and green. You have this play of scale, right? Where you have, I'll do Rhine 2. It's funny he calls it Rhine 2, actually. Rhine 2. It's funny he calls it Rhine 2 because, this is great. Look how big it is. So if you go to this Rhine 2, I think he's calling it Rhine 2 because actually if you look, and I think this is a little bit of a mistake, there's something going on right there, maybe a bridge, or the fact is that he photoshopped out a power plant. So with this photo, he was really trying to make it a painting, I think, with real images, like a composite painting. So for Gursky, he's one of the first photographers that's really ushered in Photoshop, the use of Photoshop as a tool for fine art and photography. And this is really clearly displayed, and his website is really good. Right here. This is really, I would recommend visiting his website, but you can see, man, there's so many good pieces, but like, okay, for instance, seems like this texture, right? And then you move into this and you realize that these are all dancers, right? You can see all the dancers. And these are real people. This is in Korea, North Korea, right? Amazing. That's the game he's doing here. He's taking pictures and he's expressing how they can work at different scales. Like you can stand far away and it can work as kind of a color palette, but if you stand close, you can see personalities and narratives. So this is an important one. Well, I don't want to say important, but I want to say interesting. This is Chicago Board of Trade. I love this. He's got the TVs with the pictures on the TV. I mean, that's the details. And what he's doing here is he's taking a series of photos throughout the day, almost a time lapse, and he's composing and creating a composite of different moments happening at the same time. So there's elements of time at play, there's elements of narrative and fiction, and kind of, and I'll leave you with this because I can talk literally all week about Gursky and about photography and about the Dusseldorf School and where photography is right now, and I will, but for this specific kind of shorter tidbit, I'll say that Gursky is a really important photographer, in my opinion, because with Instagram and with the internet, it's really hard. We trust photos. We trust images as being real. And Gursky, I think, is kind of needling this point that, well, you really can't trust photos that much because we can create narratives and fictions through images, even real people and real spaces. If we just collapse time, we have, this person and this person are talking together, but maybe that never happened. And think about that politically, right? You could put Trump in the room with anyone, or you can put two people together, and it creates a political problem. Think about all of the kind of juxtapositions that with the police and with brutality and with any sort of um, any sort of relationship of tension, right? You start to compose images with these people. Even think about like affairs and this person with that person. It's just something we have control over. And Gursky saying maybe we should do more than just like use it for Us Weekly or like tabloids. Maybe we should use it for fine art and creating narratives of worlds that may have not existed. So that's Gursky, man. I'm gonna do this for other pieces and for painters and just, but this is important because these are the pieces that I think are important for people to be maybe not love, but I mean I do love Gursky, but to acknowledge and to say that okay, this has a place right now in the world that we're existing in, and that the meaning behind it gives it value. All right, man. Tell me how this works for you, and any notes. Um, I'm looking forward to. This is fun for me. So, all right, man.